Hey scrappers, it's Vanessa here with my video for the Love of Crafting and Sharing Hop for this month. And the theme this month is all about kits. And so what I thought I would do for this month is put a actual kit together and do that as my video, and then I may do a voiceover and put a layout together using this kit, or I may just come back and show you a finished layout using this kit that we're going to build right now. And so what I decided to do as an inspiration or starting off point for my kit is I had recently purchased some of this Minte paper sets. There's quite a few out, and this was one I had picked up a couple of months back. It is called Sweet Place, and these are sort of the colors that you see. They have some pinks and some grays and some greens, and there's like a deeper kind of plum color in the florals and some corally kind of colors. And so I decided to take this and have this be my inspiration, which is typically what I will do when I'm putting kits together. I'll find something that I want to use for my inspiration and build a kit from there. So that is exactly what I did. And so I went through this collection and then pulled two pieces of pattern paper that I was going to use in building the kit. So here are the two pattern papers that I chose. Now this one is a whole bunch of frames, and to me this is something that I will fussy cut. I have the frames with some icons, and then on the back I also have just the frames with nothing in them, which would be perfect for embellishment clusters and things like that. So this is going to be one of the pattern papers. And then I have this one as well, which this has obviously all the colors in the collection, so you can get a really good representation of sort of the colors that I'm leaning toward pulling for this kit. Now, when it comes to what I will use likely for an actual page to scrapbook, I will probably use this as a background. But do not worry, I know some people are cringing that I would not use this beautiful A side of the pattern paper. However, for me, I don't typically use these kinds of pages for a full background. What I would be more likely to do would be to fussy cut the elements, use those, and maybe mat some photos with this inside part. But no fears, you get two of each pattern in the collection kit. So I do have this paper again that if I want to ultimately cut these out to use on a layout later, I absolutely can, but I am thinking this will end up being a background for a layout when I finish this kit. So with that in mind, I am going to just put these two pattern papers sort of off to the side where I think you can still see them so they stay in frame. And what I'm going to do is I have a stack of papers that I kind of keep near my desk. Now none of these are new, they're old. Some might have come from paper pads, some are just like random papers that I had just laying around. And so I went through those and kind of with these colors in mind pulled some things, and my aim is to create a kit that is like a maybe 2 layouts, give or take. Now for me, while I often will say I'm making a small kit, they typically for me end up being bigger than just the maybe 2 layouts that I'm aiming to make. And that's just because typically I like to have lots of choices, and so my kits end up being a little bit bigger than sometimes I intend them to be. So with that said, we are going to go through these papers. I'm not sure all of them will make it into the kit, but I thought it might be fun to go through, and I'll kind of talk about what I would use and what I wouldn't put with these papers, and we will build this kit. Now, the first thing that I do with any kit is I will add solid cardstock. Most of the time my solid cardstock really just becomes the frame for my layouts. I sometimes will gut the center to matte photos, but typically you will only ever really see just the edges of this cardstock. But I did go ahead and pull a couple of colors that definitely work with these colors in these pattern papers. And so I have this darker that's definitely going to pull out the darker tones of green. And then I have the lighter, which again obviously is gearing toward pulling this lighter green, which is in the leaves and some of the frames. Definitely see it in this pattern paper. And then last but not least, I pulled this sort of peachy, dusty pink color, which is definitely leaning, pulls in this pink tone, this lighter pink that's in some of the florals, and so I definitely think any of these would be perfect for the colors that we have going. So these are definitely going to go in the kit. Now, on to pattern papers. And I have a few scraps in here as well as some 12 by 12s. This first one is from Alison Kreff's Recorded collection. And I really like this pattern paper with the colors. It definitely goes with all the greens. It has not a super distressed look to it, but it's got a sort of cream in the background, which a lot of this has cream kind of a tone to some of the pattern in these pattern papers here. And so I definitely think it fits with the feel of these pattern papers, and the colors match perfectly. Now the funny thing is, this side, which you wouldn't think would, you know, be something you might pair with this, I don't think I'd use it in large doses, but ultimately the colors, even the pink and this little bit of yellow that's in some of the arrows, there's a tiny hint of yellow in amongst some of the sort of pattern in these two pattern papers that you could actually use this in small doses. I would not use it in a large amount, but you absolutely could even make this back side of this Alison Kreff paper work as well. So this is one I definitely want to put in my kit. Next up, we have a paper from Cartabella's Hello Again, and this side I definitely am not feeling for these or for this kit. However, this side has definitely pulling, or we're definitely pulling in the peaches or the pinky peach tone that you see in some of the florals, which if I hold this up, let me see. Yeah, if I hold this up, you can see it really well next to that floral. See how well this goes with this. And the other thing that I really like about this pattern paper is it has a distressed feel. The pattern is not in your face, it's not super bold, and the pattern paper itself has a distressed feeling to it. So it definitely works with the more distressed feeling of these pattern papers. So I really do like this as an option. So that is definitely going to make it to my kit. Now the next pattern paper that you see here is obviously not hitting the distressed kind of feel for sure. It is more of a geometric pattern with all these triangles. There is some gold, so if I want to bring in the idea of some metallic, I have the gold here as an option. Now this does definitely work from a color tone standpoint. As you can see, those colors are definitely in these pattern papers. Now, is the feel exactly what I'm kind of going for? Maybe not so much. However, when I turn the paper over, I do often, just like a good text, sometimes these musical pattern papers, and this is from Teresa Collins 9 & Co. So this is like from 2014, so quite an old collection. But the background of this, while yes, it's not distressed, it's a very easy pattern that I can use that definitely blends well with these pattern papers. And so depending on what I'm going for, there's really no right or wrong. You could use this side. Will I? Maybe not. This side I definitely can use for, you know, a sort of black and white pattern paper to add a little bit of pop to this kit. And like I said, both sides would work if I wanted to use them, but I think I'm going to put it in for more this side. So I think that one will go into my kit. We will see. Now here I have some scraps. Now this one here, if we look at this floral first, this floral, yeah, the pinks are in here. So technically I could use this. Let's see, this is more green, but if I turn this over, you know, I probably could get away with that. The tone of pink is slightly off, but I could throw that in just to use up that small scrap, because that is definitely a good color match. There's really, I mean, I'm not concerned whether this is really distressed or not. It is such a small piece that I could easily use that for some layers. And then here is a pattern paper. This is also from Webster's Pages, and it is the Dream in Color collection, which I don't know if I can see if there was a year. I don't see a year, so I'm not sure, but I know that it is definitely not new by any stretch. But this definitely sort of, to me it has that sort of vintagey kind of feel, or distressed kind of feel, and obviously that green color is a perfect match pretty much to these pattern papers. So these are two scraps that I think I can easily put with this kit and find a use for. So that was an easy choice. Now this pattern paper is definitely distressed. This is an American Crafts. I think I got this at AC Moore, and so it's not like from a specific collection, but if I had to guess, it's probably crepe paper. This stripe is a little hard on the eyes. I think the most I would do would be to frame a layout with that, and that actually does work. That pulls in the grays, the gray and black sort of tone that's in here. So this is an option. You could potentially use both sides of this, because this pink definitely again goes toward the color tones of the peachy pinks that are in these pattern papers, and it's a very easy to use, again, more the tone on tone, slightly distressed feel. So again, another great option. The next pattern paper we have here is one from Webster's Pages, and this is from #Happy Allison Craft. Again, this is very geometric, very bold. I don't like the feel of this with this set of pattern papers. However, this side you could absolutely use. This is just a simple sort of wonky kind of stripe that you have going on with a small dose of it. It's not too modern of a pattern that you absolutely could get away with using this. It pulls in some of this yellower, more yellow tone that's in the pattern papers. So I am going to say, for now, I'm going to put this in the kit, because I definitely think this side I could make work for some layers, or even to frame out a page even. So again, like I said, I've definitely picked more pattern papers than I need for 2 or even 3 pages. The next one I have here is this polka dot, and again, the color tones, you absolutely could make this work. I think because I have so many other patterns happening, or so many other papers already pulled, that I probably am not going to include this, but there's no reason why I couldn't. If I wanted to make a bigger kit, this would totally work with any page with this collection. So I might actually put this with the collection itself, because I think the paper works perfectly. I just happen to have so many already picked that I'm not going to put this one in. Next one I have is this deeper purple, and you might go, why would I pull this deeper purple? And here is why. If I hold this up to the camera, so hopefully you can see it, see the centers of those florals. See how well this deeper plum purple really picks up the center of those florals. So what I like about this is a very subtle sort of tone on tone. You can barely tell that there's a pattern in this. It's harder to pick up on camera, but there is definitely a tone on tone pattern. It's very simple. It reads as a solid, and putting it with these pattern papers allows me to have a variance in color tone. So I have a lot of, like, on the lighter sided colors. This allows me to pull in a bit more of that deeper, to have a pop of that deeper color, just to add a little bit of pop and interest to the patterns or to the papers and colors that I use in a kit that for most of the pattern papers would be toward the lighter sides, which are the peaches and the pinks and the lighter greens. This gives me that sort of pop of color, which can really help with a layout so that it doesn't feel so monotonously the same with the color tones. So this I definitely like putting into my kit. Now next up I have this, and this is definitely playing up these sort of tan colors. Now I don't know that I love this, and it's okay. You definitely could use it. This is from Studio Calico's print shop. It is okay. It's not maybe my favorite, but it definitely works. The color tones all work. The back side of this paper actually even works. This kind of has that sort of same collaged feel that, you know, pattern papers like this have, and I could easily make this work. Like when I put them together like that, you totally could make this work with this collection. I am not positive I'm going to put it in this particular kit. Again, it might be one that I put off to the side because it does work with this collection for sure. So I'm going to say no to that one for now. And then last but not least, I have this pattern paper, which again came from, it is from American Crafts. And I want to say this was probably a crate paper, but I did get it from AC Moore, and so they just sold them as American Crafts and not as like crate paper or whatnot. But I believe that's probably where it was from, was crate paper. And this is just sort of a basic grid. Now, the only thing about this one, now that I'm looking at it, because I didn't have these papers beside me when I was pulling all these pattern papers, I kind of just was going by the colors I remembered there being in the papers. This is leaning to me a bit too much toward the greeny blue color, whereas this is not. This doesn't really have any blue tone in it. This is more like a tealy blue. So I am going to say no to this one. I love this for a background, but I am not going to use that one. So here is what I have laid off to the side. I have these pattern papers that we went through. So I'm going to say that these are going to be my pattern papers. So like I said, the kit's going to be bigger than I had originally thought. Of course, I'm like notoriously bad at putting kits together and keeping it to only a couple of papers. But as you can see, all of these colors work perfectly with these two pattern papers. Now, last but not least, I am going to grab just 2 sheets, I think, from this, and let me put this pattern paper here on top so that you always have the inspiration colors. But I actually found in my stash, I have this Misty Rose from Prima, and not everything in this goes with this. It has the vintage feel, yes, but the colors, I don't particularly like all of them together. However, there are two patterns that I thought I could easily make work with this kit. And so this one here, if I wasn't going to use these florals, I could definitely, I think, get away with fussy cutting these florals and using them. However, that isn't the paper I want to pick. I want to choose this one here. And in these paper pads, you actually get 4 of each design. So I'm just going to take 1 for this kit. But while I know these florals are totally different, the feel of this, I like it with this pattern paper. And because I'm not using, I may not on one of the pages use the florals per se, I could fussy cut these florals. As well as I really love the background. Like I said before, I love a good text, and this to me has the feel. It is just a simple, very distressed text, and it definitely works with this pattern paper background. So I'm going to stick that in as one of my choices. And then the other one that I had been thinking of was, I believe, yep, it was that one, was this one. Again, speaks to the text that I love, and it, in this case, pulls in those peachy pink tones in the florals. So there is no mistaking that that text paper works perfectly with the floral and feel of these papers. Now the background, like I said, is too much toward that tealy blue, so we're not going to use that, but I definitely like these two papers to pull in that distressed text, and again, I could use the floral from this side and make it work. So those are going to be the pattern papers that we are going to use, and I have no idea how long this video is, so what I'm going to do is, that was probably the biggest part. What I'm going to do now is just show you the embellishments and things that I picked. And again, when I went to my stash, I simply just looked at this collection, and I had this collection in mind from a color perspective, and that's all. I just went and picked things that had the color tones that I was going for and just went from there. So really quickly, I'm going to go through some of the bits and pieces that I pulled, because I do not want this video to be so long, and then I will probably go ahead, like I said, and put a layout together and do just a share at the end with a layout that I've created using this kit that we are looking at right now. So I have 2 things from Felicity Jane. These are little gold, little sequins. Hopefully my camera kind of zeroes in on those, but there is some little gold sequins, and then this is just a whole bunch of pink and peachy kind of tones. Again, sequins from Felicity Jane. Those are going to go in my kit. I have, and these are just some things I had sitting around my desk or on my desk, and so I have a couple of frames here. Oh, not that one. But I have a couple of frames. I have some little, or not frames, some tags, and I have some little kind of washi tags that definitely work with the colors. I have this other little ephemera tag. I have some little dictionary hearts that I think came in a color kit from Spiegel Mom's Scraps, so I threw those in. I have some trim in some lace, and this is sort of toward the creamy colors, so pulling out the creamy tones. I still have some enamel dots in gold and green and black and some of a cream tone. I have some gold hearts. You can ignore the citrus fruit. I'm not going to use those, but the gold hearts, definitely. I have some gold labels. Can never go wrong with like simple things like that to build your embellishment clusters. I have 3 ephemera. This one says you and me. This one says ephemera. This is not ephemera. Well, it is ephemera, but these are flare badges. And they're not the epoxy ones, these are the originals. And so this one says this way, sweet and you and me. Again, all of these work with the colors we have going on. And then we're going to get into the letter stickers, which again, I will reiterate that I'm very bad at making a small kit. So keep that in mind. I have a sort of flat, kind of like a washy green sticker here. So I'm going to lay this off to the side so you can still keep the color or colors of the inspiration in the foreground. So there is a green. I have a gold Dear Lizzie Alpha. They're a tile, so I have I have the gold on white with white letters, and then I have the white with gold. So those are good for small title options. I have some word strips from Maggie Holmes, 2 of them, one from Craft Market, and this one was from Storyboard maybe. I honestly can't remember, but I have those. Can never go wrong with tiny word strips, so they will work. I have this sticker set from Summertime. I don't know that I'll use any of these, but I am trying to get them used up, and so they would work quite possibly for part of a title. I have this one, which is called Wild. They are just a white foam, thicker words, I should say, because they are not letters. And again, something I am trying to use up, and so they are going to go in. I have Bella Boulevard. These are chipboard words. Again, something I would like to use up, and I can color these or leave them white, and they would certainly work with this. Now, after that, I put in 3 actual thicker sets. I have this one called Memento, if my camera is having a hard time picking that up. But this is Memento. These are green. They work obviously with the greens. I have these from the Office. It was called Office Hours from Pink Fresh. So that's pulling in the peachy pink tone. And then last but not least, I have these Happy Life stickers from Paige Evans' collection. I will not be using the navy side, but the white definitely works. So those are my sticker choices. Last but not least, and I did not put anything mixed media, but I typically like to add some level of mixed media or some sort of interest to my backgrounds. So I will possibly add some spray mist or some ink or something like that, which if I do that on the layout that I create, I will definitely let you know what I used. And then finally, I did not go through and pick out a whole bunch of embellishments. All I did was pick out 2 of my color drawers. I picked out my pink color drawer, which is obviously going to help me pick different pieces, and there's all sorts of stuff in here. I have some chipboard, I have some ephemera, obviously, stickers, chipboard, stickers, ephemera pieces, dimensional pieces, acetate, whatever. This is a lot of old ephemera, but it is all piled in here, and this one is quite full. So I pulled my pink, and obviously I pulled my green. So rummaging through these for my layouts, I will be using these to put my pages together and getting some of my older ephemera that I put in these containers used up. And so that is what I plan to use and put together at least 1 layout, if not 2 or 3. I could make way more than 2 or 3 layouts with this. But this is going to be the kit that I'm going to use for this month. So I will go ahead and hopefully create a layout and show you. Either way, you'll see this kit video for my video on the 20th. Okay, scrappers, I am back, and I am going to be really quick because if you made it through the entire video and saw the kit we put together, I wanted to show you really quickly the layout that I created with that kit. I did keep all the pieces together so that I can create at least 1, if not 2 or more layouts using that kit, but I wanted to come back and just show you my completed layout. So as you can see, I used that background paper and a piece of the cardstock, as well as several of the pattern papers that I pulled in the kit. I just went ahead and layered them up. I did distress the edges of all of the pieces just to add that extra texture. I also took the frame paper and I cut 3 of the frames to use on this page. And then it's hard to tell, but yep, you can still see it in the video. I did take some white texture paste and a floral stencil. Hopefully my camera focuses a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So I took a stencil and a floral pattern and put some texture paste through, and so that is just a little detail that I added to the background. I did grab a doily, and then everything else, all the embellishments, the sequins, the puffy hearts, the stickers, everything else came from my little embellishment drawers that I showed in the original kit build. And this So Sweet actually was in my pink embellishments, and so I just added This Was from the little text flat stickers that I had in my kit. And so the title is This Is So Sweet, and it is just a picture of my daughter, and she's hugging Cinderella in this photo. And this is the first time, I believe, yeah, this was the first time that she had met Cinderella, and so she was a little bit awestruck, and so it was really cute. And so I just put this really quick page together that uses the kit we just built. So if I create kit or layouts with the rest of the kit, I will try to at some point do a show just so you can see the other things that get created. And now that I'm looking at this page, I have 2 things that I'm going to do off camera, and that is date this layout and add my Mickey head somewhere on this page with one of the scraps of pattern paper left over from this page. So with that, guys, I am going to call this one done, and please be sure to check the links down below for everyone participating this month. And guys, I will catch you on the next one, and we'll see you next month. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.